Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Listener Questions installment of the Meditations and More podcast, brought to you by ShamanSpiritCenter.com and LittleShaman.org. That's me, the Little Shaman. I have with me my co-host, Caitlin, and she is going to be assisting me with the questions. She also picks the questions that you guys send in. How you doing, Caitlin?
I'm doing all right, Little Shaman.
Good, well, let's get started.
All right, so our first question comes from Sarah. I have been married 16 years. We have 2 kids and a business together. I have been mentally and sometimes physically abused for all these years. I did not know what it was until recently. I always thought it was my fault. 3 years ago, I was terrified by an incident and left for a motel with my kids. I filed for divorce. After over a year, we could not come to terms about the business, so the court said it was going to divide things the way it wanted. We didn't want that, so we stopped the divorce. My husband then started flip-flopping between me and his new girlfriend, who knows he's married with children. This went on for over a year. During this time, I started researching his behavior. I came to 2 conclusions: borderline personality disorder or narcissism. When I realized this, I cried because finally, I didn't feel like it was my fault. Finally, I didn't feel all alone. I should mention I have 0 friends. I have a sister, but I do not discuss anything with her. I also started seeing a psychiatrist about 8 months ago. My husband got a house, so we have been living separately. We are not legally separated, however, and we still do the business together. He threatens divorce all the time and says he hates me and wishes he never met me. Then in the same argument, he says he loves me and wants to work it out. Then he says he expects sex because I'm his wife and it's my job. I am so confused. It makes no sense to me how all these things can be said right after one another. I also don't understand how he can love me so much one minute, then hate me and leave to go be in love with another girl, just to come back a month later and do it again. I am now scared about divorce. Without the business, I will not be able to make house payments. I am 50 and I have no experience in anything else. If you have any experience or advice, I would appreciate it. Sarah.
Thank you for that question, Sarah. There's a couple things I want to say. The first one is that borderline personality disorder and narcissism are not mutually exclusive. Narcissism is actually often a symptom of borderline personality disorder, so I just wanted to put that out there. As far as how he can say, I love you, I hate you, I'm in love with someone else, if I were you, I would stop trying to make sense out of it because it doesn't make sense and you're not going to be able to make sense out of it. But the reason that it happens is that for narcissistic people, feelings are facts. That means that the truth changes with their feelings. When their feelings change, the truth changes. Therefore, there is no lie to detect, and that's why they seem so sincere, and that's why it's so confusing. It's not permanent, it's not stable. You can't build anything with someone like that. You can't have anything with someone like that. As far as the sex, if you don't want to have sex with somebody, don't. You don't have to. You're not required to. It is not your job. If you're not comfortable, don't do it. I understand you being worried about divorce. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that I speak to have this same problem. If I were you, I would start exploring now different things you can do to take care of yourself, to take care of your family, whatever you're trying to do. Start writing down things, learning about who you are again. Who am I outside of this relationship? What do I like? What do I need? What can I do? That's the way you get started getting yourself back on track. I would like to suggest the TRAP program for you, the Toxic Relationship Recovery Assistance Program that you can find on my website. It's free and it's self-directed, and it kind of teaches you how to navigate this and take the power back. I'm very sorry that this happened to you. Thank you very much for that letter, Sarah.
Our next question comes from Jill. Does a narcissist consciously know that they acquire and display false personas and personality traits? How do they rationalize taking on qualities and characteristics of other people, even contradictory ones, that change all the time? How do they behave when they are alone and there is nobody around and they are not portraying one of their false personas? Thanks, Jill.
That's a really good question, Jill. Thanks for that. I would say probably most of them don't necessarily realize they're doing that. I think it's more of being in survival mode, and this is just how they think they have to act and the way that they think they have to portray themselves in order to have value and get people to like them or care about them. Your second question was, how do they rationalize taking on qualities and characteristics of other people, even contradictory ones? I don't necessarily even think it goes that deep. I don't think they necessarily realize they're doing that. They're just kind of mirroring what's around them because that's what they have learned how to do. When you don't have an identity, then you will just sort of reflect what's around you, and that's what they do. It's like a chameleon, kind of. A chameleon is not doing that on purpose any more than a narcissistic person is. It's just that that's what they do. And your last question was, how do they behave when they're alone and there's nobody around? A lot of times that's when they will decompensate. If they're not getting any feedback or attention from other people, they have nobody to mirror. They have nothing to create self-worth and self-esteem from. And that's a lot of times when you see very, very intense problems with them. They can become suicidal. They get very depressed a lot of the times. They can even become psychotic and start hallucinating. It's very, very difficult for them to be in that situation. So
You have to remember that what causes these problems for them often happens when they're really, really young. And personality and stuff like that tends to develop and stabilize when you're still really young. So when this is happening around 2 or 3 years old, what would make their personality and everything that is special about them doesn't seem to happen for whatever reason.
or it happens, but it's not complete, or it's dysfunctional.
So to them, this is how it's always been. Copying those around them, mimicking their parents or friends or caretakers.
Yeah, it's not something that they're consciously doing. It's like I said about chameleons. They're not consciously doing that. They just do it because it's what they do. So that was a really good question, Jill. Thank you.
Our third question comes from Jimmy. I appreciate all the helpful insight you share. It helps myself and I'm sure plenty others. The narcissist in my life is my wife's father. My wife and myself have had countless conversations about his actions and the way he speaks to us that we do not appreciate. We've told him to stop, but have been told, this is the way I am and I will not change. My wife and I have agreed when he gets out of control, we'll block his calls and not speak to him, but that is easier said than done. She will still engage him and continue to argue. It's very frustrating that he makes her so upset. How do you feel I can help her? She states it's her father and she doesn't want to get him more upset. I hope this makes it on air as I don't hear much material on narcissist in-laws. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks for that question, Jimmy. And you know what? You're right. I hear a lot about narcissistic in-laws from clients that call me or email me, but as far as information that's out there, I'm often told the same thing that you just said, that there's not very much of it. Unfortunately, it presents a sticky situation for you because even if you go no contact with this person, you still have to deal with the emotional fallout from your wife if she doesn't go no contact. The truth of it is, if she's not willing to go no contact with him, I really don't know what you can do besides remind her not to take it personally and that she just needs to ignore it. Unfortunately, that's how it is with abuse. If you are not going to get out of the abusive situation, then you're just going to have to learn to live with it, because it's not going to stop. It has nothing to do with you or with your wife or anything else. This is the way that this person wants to behave for whatever reason. Apparently, it gets them what they want, because people will continue on with behaviors that get them what they want, and that's just how it is. I understand that she feels that's her father and she doesn't want to get him more upset, but she needs to understand that she's not responsible for his feelings. They're his problem. You don't need to sacrifice yourself for other people. If it requires you to be hurt for somebody else to feel better, there's a problem there, a big one. I think blocking him is a good idea if that's what you guys want to do. But like I said, once again, if someone's not going to do it, then really the only thing you can do is learn to live with it, because it's not going to stop. This is a person, I assume, is older and they're set in their ways. He even said straight up, this is the way I am and I'm not going to change. When somebody tells you something like that, you need to believe them.
So, Little Shaman, what could Jimmy do to help his wife in particular? Because he can't do anything about the father-in-law, so what can he do to support his wife?
He can be a voice of reason. He can be validation for her. He can be approval and support. If she does decide to block him or go no contact or take a step back from the relationship, and he can be a gentle reminder that the best thing to do is not to take it personally, because the truth is it's not personal. And if you're not going to go no contact or block this person or take a break from the relationship, then that's really the best you can do. He can also perhaps point her to some of my videos about the gray rock method, because that is one of the ways that you can start learning how not to take it personal. So thank you very much for that question, Jimmy. That was a good one, and you're right, it's something that doesn't get talked about enough. And once again, like I said to Jimmy, when someone tells you, this is who I am, I'm not going to change, you need to believe them.
Yeah, a lot of people will try to jump in and change them and help them because they think, oh, maybe this person doesn't understand. Maybe if I just show them and explain to them, maybe I can be that change for them. But you can talk to these people until you're blue in the face. If they say, I will not change, this is who I am, then they will not.
No, you've been told that they're not interested in changing. It's your job to accept that and listen and hear what they're telling you. We always say it all the time. Narcissists will tell you who they are if you listen, and everybody will. And people will tell you the truth if you listen to them. It's your job to accept it.
It's hard, but sometimes you have to realize some people just cannot be helped.
And some people don't want to, and it all comes to the same. Absolutely. Great question, Jimmy. Thank you.
And our last question comes from Felicia. I am a loyal follower and listener and have said many times to many people, the way you explain certain things has made sense to me or made things click for me for the first time. So thank you for your content. I am over 30 days no contact. I have heard many times all narcissists cheat. In the last 2 to 3 months with my narcissist and in my 30 plus days no contact, I've gone to some pretty extreme lengths to catch him cheating. For whatever reason, he is not. I wish he was. It would be so much easier to be done if I saw him with someone else. He's alone a lot, goes shopping, out to eat, and drinking, but all alone and is not cheating. My questions are, do all narcissists cheat, and can a narcissist be alone a lot and not try to hoover? Felicia.
Well, thank you very much for that question, Felicia. The answer to your question is no. All narcissists do not cheat. Anybody doesn't cheat. Not all men cheat, not all women cheat, not all Capricorns cheat, not all Scorpios cheat. All of anybody doesn't do anything. So no, all narcissists do not cheat. That's unfortunately one of the myths that I addressed in my 6 myths about narcissism video, because it's very pervasive, and I have even had clients call me and say, I think they might be a narcissist because they do this and this and this and this and they're ticking every box, but they don't cheat. Well, they don't have to. Not all narcissists cheat. All people that cheat are not narcissists. So there's the answer to that question. The other question is, can a narcissist be alone a lot and not trying to hoover? You know, it's a spectrum. So it's very hard to say what is going on in this person's mind, what are they doing, how are they getting supply, if they even are a narcissist. So I can't really answer that question. Is that possible that that's happening? Anything's possible. It would not be likely, but it's possible, sure. I do want to let you know, though, that if you're no contact, but you're following him around, or I don't know how you're getting this information, but that's not no contact. No contact doesn't just mean not talking to somebody. Contact is contact. That's why it's called no contact and not no talking. It means no looking at their Facebook or their Instagram or any social media. It means not driving by their house. That doesn't sound like healthy behavior at all, and you might end up getting yourself in trouble. So you really might want to think about what's going on here and why you're doing that.
Plus, seeing him doing all these things is not going to help you move on from him. Like, you need to cut him out.
That's absolutely right, and that's what no contact is. It's no contact. You don't see this person, you don't talk to them, you just cut them out, like she said. Thank you very much for that question, Felicia. Well, that's going to do it for this listener questions installment of the Meditations and More podcast. If you would like to submit your questions for consideration, send them to thelittleshamanhealing@gmail.com or through the contact form on my website at littleshaman.org. Please make sure that your subject line is listener questions, because that's how we find them. We get a ton of emails. Please be sure to include a name we can read on the air, and do not include any information that you would not want us to read on the show. I take appointments online and over the phone, as well as email, Skype, text message. You could probably get them to me on rocket skates. So if you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one, you can visit littleshaman.org and click the appointments tab to go ahead and set that up. I teach workshops a few times a month. Right now we have the Shadow Work workshop and the Creating Boundaries workshop running for this month. Next month I will start running the Understanding and Managing Compassion Fatigue workshop. That's going to start in September. And I'm also working on a 3-day intensive spirit clinic, and there will be more information coming up about that. That's all online. All my workshops are online. So if you're interested in checking those out, visit littleshaman.org and click the workshops tab to go ahead and do that. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast listener questions installment, brought to you by shamanspiritcenter.com and littleshaman.org. That's me, the Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you and have a wonderful day.